United Airlines Flight 855, a Boeing 727 en route from Newark, New Jersey to Los Angeles, California. With 85 passengers and a crew of 6, it had resumed flight after a Denver, Colorado layover. Approximately 20 minutes after takeoff, at 5:18 p.m., a male passenger was observed in his seat holding a hand grenade. The stewardess, notified of the situation, immediately advised the captain. An off-duty pilot, known to be on board as a passenger, was requested to discreetly walk around and assess the situation, only to have a person in question draw a pistol as he was approached. The gunman handed over a sealed envelope labeled hijack instructions and stated, "Give this envelope to the girl and have her take it to the captain." A stewardess complied, and the off-duty pilot returned to his seat. The stream of events had transpired so quickly that most passengers were unaware of the threat. Captain William Alinsky, fictitious name, discussed the matter with some crew members and decided to land at nearby Grand Junction, Colorado, where he would radio for law enforcement assistance on the ground. Alinsky then announced over the public address system that the aircraft was experiencing minor mechanical problem and would land shortly. The envelope with the hijack instructions was then opened by the captain. Inside were 2 typed pages of highly detailed instructions, a hand grenade pin, and a bullet. The instructions required Alinsky to land at San Francisco International Airport and park at runway 19 left. There he was to follow certain procedures, which designated the number of persons allowed near the plane at one time, and the distance from the aircraft that all vehicles, other than those containing fuel, were to be kept. In addition, the hijacker demanded $500,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and the return of all written or typed directions given during the course of the flight. The crew decided to comply and notified San Francisco of the hijacking and intended landing. A flight crew member announced to the passengers that the Grand Junction Airport could not handle the necessary repairs, and it would be necessary to divert to San Francisco. From this point on, normal operations continued on board. In consideration of the safety of all aboard Flight 855, United Airlines officials decided to meet the demands upon the plane's landing. 2 flight bags loaded with cash and 4 parachutes were delivered to the plane. The hijacker, who had assumed command on touchdown, gave up his baggage check and had his luggage brought aboard. Fuel trucks hurriedly filled the plane's tank with thousands of gallons of jet fuel. After seeing the completion of his written directions, some 3 hours after the plane had parked, the gunman released the passengers and one of the stewardesses. He then ordered the rest of the crew in the cockpit to take position in the rear of the aircraft. The hijacker then used the intercom to summon a stewardess. He gave her another set of flight instructions, telling the pilot to take off towards the east, climb to 16,000 feet, and fly precisely at 200 miles an hour on a course that would overpass several specific Utah communities. The messages, now hand-printed, between the hijacker and pilot were sent with increasing frequency, always using the stewardess as a courier. The cabin was ordered depressurized, and the gunman warned that if any pursuit planes were spotted, he would detonate a hidden explosive device after he had jumped before the plane could be landed. The hijacker opened his luggage and covered the peephole between the cockpit and the cabin. Observed by Second Officer Floyd Smith, also a fictitious name, through a slight space under the cockpit door, the hijacker quickly put on a jumpsuit, helmet, and parachute. Once he had shut off the cabin lights to better view the ground, the gunman demanded to be kept abreast of wind, ground, and air speeds, altimeter settings, and sky conditions. After the aircraft passed over the last community on his prescribed course, the hijacker sent no more notes. Hoping the incident was over, a stewardess ventured in the passenger area and determined that the gunman had indeed bailed out. With the ransom in the darkened skies, 5 hours after the hijacking began, a weary crew headed to nearby Salt Lake City International Airport. That sound familiar? Well, that is not the story of D.B. Cooper.
Well, welcome everybody to this episode of the Watchmen Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Upchurch, joined as always by my friends, Ben Todd Hunter and Garrett Chambers. Say hi to the people.
Hey there.
So our opening story is actually not the story of D.B. Cooper. That is the story of Richard McCoy Jr., who, that was a couple months after the fact of the D.B. Cooper incident. He did that thing, bailed out basically the same thing as D.B. Cooper. I don't think we have anything else we need to... you guys have anything we need to mention before we jump into the story?
Yeah, no, that's such a wild way to hijack a plane too. Like he did it so casually. Like it wasn't some big like inside plan working with other operations. He just brought a hand grenade on a plane along with a gun, and then just stole the plane.
He didn't steal a plane.
I mean, he hijacked.
Oh, okay,
the
yeah.
plane.
Basically,
He-
stole.
he
Look, if you can
basically-
make the
yeah.
plane go wherever you
Yeah.
want,
Like he
yeah.
he forcefully hired the pilots to fly the plane for him, but basically it was his plane at that time. So
True.
if you ever want to hijack a plane, that's a good way to do it. Happened a couple times already.
And
Yeah, we have confirmed this works really well.
Yeah,
mhm,
yeah,
we did a lot of research.
yeah. Not firsthand, but yeah,
We have friends.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's all we're gonna say about that.
To make a lot of money, it's also a pretty interesting way to do that because most guys would just go and rob a bank to
That
get
is
to
true,
get a
yeah.
large amount of money
Yeah.
in that quickly. But
Yeah.
it's just much more creative and much more cool. Like you're a cool person.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get into the actual story of D.B. Cooper now. It was November 24th, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve. What happened on that fateful night remains the only unsolved plane hijacking in U.S. history. More than half a century later, we still don't know who he was, where he went, or if he even survived the jump. According to the FBI's original description, he was a white male, approximately 6'1", 170 to 175 pounds, in his mid-40s with an olive complexion, brown eyes, and black hair neatly parted on the left. A man who looked entirely ordinary. He walked into the terminal at Portland International Airport that afternoon carrying a small briefcase. He then paid cash for a one-way ticket on Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 bound for Seattle. He thanked the ticket agent politely, passed through the gate, and boarded the Boeing 727. He settled into his aisle seat in the rear of the aircraft, lit a cigarette, and ordered a bourbon and a soda. The 36 other passengers noticed nothing abnormal about him, just another businessman on his way home for the holidays. However, this would soon change. A little ways into the flight, he summoned the flight attendant, 23-year-old Florence Schaffner. When she approached, he handed her a note. At first, she slipped it in her pocket without reading it. Notes like this weren't unusual. In those days, flight attendants, always sharply dressed and smiling, were accustomed to receiving flirtatious notes from male passengers. He caught her eye and gestured to the note, implying that she were to read it. This she did, unfolding the note. What she shocked her. "I have a bomb in my suitcase," it read, "and I want you to sit next to me." Interesting way to flirt, right? Like,
That's-
you could just be
that's
like,
quite the
"Hey,
pickup
babe,
line."
come here, just sit down," or like, "Nah, I got a bomb." Shocked, Florence did as she was instructed.
So technically it works. Technically the pickup line did work.
Yeah.
Just wait for the other flight attendant, because the other flight attendant's, like, digging on him. Later. Anyway, where were we? Shocked, Florence did as she was instructed. The man introduced himself as Dan Cooper and then showed her the contents of his briefcase. A mess of red wires and sticks that looked undeniably dangerous. He calmly stated his demands. He wanted $200,000 in cash, all in $20 bills, 4 parachutes delivered on landing to the SeaTac airport. He also wanted a fuel truck on standby to refuel when they landed at Seattle so that they could take off again immediately. This was accompanied by a clear warning, "No funny stuff." Florence walked back to the cockpit, informing the other crew members and the pilots as to what was going on. Cooper appeared to have kept the note, presumably so it wouldn't have been used as evidence in the future. Smart move. Florence stayed in the cockpit for the remainder of the flight. The pilots radioed ahead to the SeaTac airport air traffic control, as well as the Northwest Orient Airlines president, who authorized the demands to be met.
One thing, he hands the note to this. Imagine being in her situation though. Like, he hands you this note. Okay, you sit down, and then he instantly does the most autistic move anybody could ever do. Like, you sit down, you're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get blown up. And then you just, hey, you wanna see the inside of my briefcase? And then he just starts going through stuff. And he's like, these are my wires. I got some cool sticks. I need money, but only $20 bills. Like, that, what the heck?
Or I'm gonna make it go boom.
Yeah, yeah.
Big boom.
Big boom.
Yeah. While chaos erupted on the ground, the passengers remained completely unaware of what was happening. The plane began to circle above Seattle for nearly 2 hours as authorities scrambled to gather cash and parachutes. Every bill had to have its serial number recorded so the money could be traced later, which is a time-consuming task. So they wanted to know if the money was used later. And actually, I think there's a website that you can go on and, like, read all of the serial numbers of the bills. So you can, like, look at your 20s and see if they match. And shockingly, nobody's ever found 20s that match.
I figured out. So $200,000 in $20 bills is 10,000 $20 bills.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of 20s.
Yeah. That's like a body bag of 20s.
Yeah.
That was this TV show about, and where they had I'm pretty sure it was called Timeless, and they had the time travelers, and one of them was about D.B. Cooper, and in that, he had 2 duffel bags, and he had them 2
Oh, yeah, we
bandoliers.
gotta talk about that later. Was he a time traveler?
It's actually pretty sick, though.
Oh.
Having 2 duffel bags full of money.
Mm-hmm.
Just
and a
strapped
parachute.
to your back. Yeah, and a parachute. That's actually pretty sick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, I'm adding that to my bucket list. I want to get all of my money, put them in duffel bags, and then jump out of a plane.
Actually, though.
Yeah,
Maybe we
that
could get
actually
Silas to
is
fly the plane.
Oh, we could. At this point, the passengers were informed that due to a mechanical issue, the plane would not be able to land for a while. That is the biggest lie I've ever heard in my life. When the passengers asked about a delay, the crew told them it was due to quote-unquote minor mechanical issues.
Okay, low-key, though, a minor mechanical issue makes you circle for 3 hours.
Yeah, if it's a hand grenade, yeah.
That's not a minor mechanical issue.
Okay, I listened to this.
That's a major
this
issue.
BBC audio drama, and in that there are a bunch of pilots, and one of the episodes is the plane gets way too much fuel loaded into it so that they can take off, but then they're not actually certified to land because the plane is too heavy. So it could happen.
I really wish that my car had that issue because I never have the issue of having too much.
Right.
Nope.
Always not. I like your phone battery, too.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, go ahead.
Meanwhile, another flight attendant, Tina Mucklow, took Florence's place besides Cooper and would remain there for the rest of the ordeal. She later recalled that Cooper was remarkably calm because he's the only one holding a hand grenade. He wasn't nervous, angry, or cruel. He said he was polite, almost kind. He seemed to be familiar with the terrain below. Looking out the window and remarking, looks like Tacoma down there. It's oddly specific. When Tina asked why he'd chosen their particular flight, he laughed softly and said, quote unquote, "It's not because I have a huge grudge against your airline, I just have a grudge. The plane just happened to be in the right place at the right time." One of the other passengers on this flight was a man named Jorb. In an interview he made after the incident, he stated that he went to the bathroom in the rear of the plane, the one just behind where Cooper was sitting. He went there while the plane was stuck, circling above Seattle. He found his path was blocked by a man wearing a cowboy hat. The strange man was standing in an aisle, asking the flight attendant, Tina, what exactly the mechanical issues were, and why the plane couldn't land. At first, he said, Dan seemed amused by this man. However, he soon became annoyed with the stranger and demanded that he leave them alone and go back to his seat. After I had finished in the bathroom...
I love how he's just like casually talking like, oh yeah, so the other day I
Yeah.
had to go take a dump. Like
Yeah.
on the way to take a dump there's this weird guy.
Yeah.
Like I
Chill
can
guy,
just
though.
see him say like,
Chill
oh,
guy,
that was
yeah.
a good dump
Yeah.
too.
It's like I walked out of the bathroom, I felt great. And then I realized that the dude had a hand grenade, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
That felt a little less great at that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It downgraded the moment quite a bit. You know.
I wasn't
before
gonna
that-
say it scared the crap out of me. It wasn't much like there to scare. But
In an interview, he stated, after I had finished in the bathroom, he was still hassling them when I went back to my seat, and eventually convinced him to return to his seat. Tina's account sheds light on why Cooper was irritated. Quote, if that man had been a sky marshal, I don't want any more of that, he said. She assured him there weren't any sky marshals on the plane, and that was the end of it. The cowboy was never interviewed or identified by the FBI. By 5:30 p.m., the ransom and parachutes had been delivered to the airport. The Boeing 727 was cleared to land. It touched down 20 minutes later and taxied to a remote area of the tarmac, far from the main terminal, away from snipers, cameras, and chaos. Cooper insisted that only one person approached the plane, and that person ended up being Al Lee. I read it as AI.
That's
Al
what
Lee, Northwest Orient Seattle operations manager. Al was concerned that Cooper might mistake his outfit for a police uniform uniform, so he changed into casual clothes before approaching the aircraft. Smart move. Once Cooper saw the cash waiting outside, he gave the word. The passengers could go. All 36 of them disembarked safely, leaving the 6 crew members and Cooper alone on board the jet.
Okay, so going back to the George guy, this guy's got to be like the most wild card of planes ever.
Yeah.
Like, so they've got cowboy guy.
Yeah.
They've got French guy George, La Besonnette. They've got, who's also like obsessed with taking a dump. They've got like the flight attendants, and then like the guy with the bomb.
And Mr.
Yeah.
Oblinsky, or was that the first one?
It sounds...
There wasn't a Blinsky somewhere. I forget who he was though.
Yeah.
It sounds straight out of one of those, like, the kind of cheap, like, murder mystery books,
Yeah,
where it's like, you
we
got,
need,
like...
a bunch of weird people.
Yeah.
Because people are never normal.
No.
They're always weird.
Yeah, because it makes it more interesting. So it's like, we need, like, the French kind of rich guy. We need, like, the kind of backwoods, like, cowboy, very, like, northwestern, like, kind of guy. And then we need, like, obviously, like, the guy with the bomb. And then we'll just kind of, like, throw some other guys in there, just, like, here and there. But nobody is, like, just normal.
Yeah.
La Bissonnaire is the funniest name, too, because it sounds so fake.
It does.
You
It sounds...
get a total picture of what he looks like just from that last
Oh,
name.
yeah.
Is that actually his real name?
I don't know.
Like, is it confirmed?
I mean, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought that was, like, his actual name.
I would not. I mean, maybe.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that would be. Yeah. I don't know why he would have a reason to make a fake name.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tina carried the money back to Cooper, where he examined it carefully. Grasping at Vane's straws, trying to relieve the tension of the situation, Tina jokingly asked Cooper for a share of the money. To her surprise, he began to hand her a stack of bills. Always worth a shot, right?
I know, right?
It's the same way as like, Mom, can we go to the park? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. You're like, oh, that worked. Oh, yeah. She quickly backtracked, having expected him to deny. Despite this, he continued to offer her and the other crew members money as sort of a tip. Nice guy. That's cool.
Right?
At least he's humble with the money.
At least
that he
he's
just got.
generous. Like,
That's
he
true.
pays his
Yeah.
dues. I mean,
That's
hey,
true.
pass over the fact that he just stole $200,000
Yeah.
from the FBI.
Right.
But he's given
it's
a
the
cut.
government.
It's the government. Does the government more? I mean, think about it. That $200,000 could have fixed like maybe half a pothole.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like,
yeah.
he's fine. He honestly probably needed it more. He's gonna
Yeah.
help the people that are in need.
Mhm.
Right?
He's
Just bought
gonna feed
plane
his,
tickets.
He's gonna feed his family.
I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, flight attendants don't usually get paid that much.
Not
Especially
really.
back then.
They also get treated like crap. So yeah,
I don't know. They get all the love notes. They can have whoever they want.
that's valid. The only way they got him to stop was repeating that the airline had a policy where they weren't allowed to take tips.
Lame life.
That's awesome, though. And I like how he respected that. He was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, it's against policy. All right, my
Yeah,
bad.
no.
My bad.
Please
sorry."
forgive me.
Yeah. Like I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. After getting him the money, Tina dragged the parachutes to the back of the plane, which took her 3 trips. She also brought the instructions to the parachute, which she offered to Cooper, but he refused. This led many to believe that he had prior experience with parachutes. He had one of those multicolored parachutes as a kid. You take it to the park and lay on the grass.
Mm-hmm.
He was thinking since the time he was 8. He's like, man, I got a great idea for one of these. While Tina carried him the money and the parachutes, the other flight attendant asked him if they could leave. He replied casually, whatever you girls would like. Nice.
I love how he's
Guy?
a total chat.
I know, yeah. He's just like genuinely kind of a nice guy,
Yeah.
but also not at the same time. It's
Yeah.
He does lose a few points for not helping her with the parachutes.
A
It
little
took her
bit.
3
That's-
trips.
that's
a little
fair,
bit, yeah.
yeah.
He could have helped move the parachutes and like, the
Mhm.
money and stuff, but
But at the same time, he's like the boss. Like,
yeah,
the boss
that's
doesn't work,
that's
you
true.
know?
That's true. And he did offer to pay her. It was
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
she said that it was against policy. So technically, it was not unpaid labor. Either,
Correct.
Which
True.
is it's a point for him.
I mean,
So,
like,
yeah.
not gonna lie, I feel like I could go out and have a cup of coffee with this
Yeah,
guy.
honestly,
Yeah.
I feel like he would probably be a pretty entertaining guy too.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, he's probably, like, just a normal dude being like, whatever you girls would like.
Yeah.
Like, I like you, bro.
Yeah,
Let's go.
should take like a trip with him or something. That'd be cool.
Just don't fly
get him on
anywhere.
the podcast.
Yeah, no. We'll take a cruise. See what he can do with one
Okay,
of
so
those.
Dan Cooper.
We could
if
rob a
you're
cruise
still
ship,
alive-
dude. We could hijack that cruise.
Dan Cooper, if you're still alive, please come on the show. We want to interview you.
Yeah.
Teach us your
We
secrets.
won't turn you in.
Yeah, we won't
promise.
turn
No.
you in. We'll use a fake name. I
Yep.
mean, Dan
Yeah.
Cooper's a fake name anyway, but
Yeah.
Yeah. When Florence Schnafer Schaffner went to retrieve her purse from the rear of the plane, near to where he was sitting, he joked, "Don't worry, I won't bite you." Okay, that was kind of creepy.
That's
That
a
was,
little
that was a little too far. Yeah, that's a little too far. Refueling the aircraft was slow and tense. For starters, the plane was in a remote location far away from the main part of the airport, which created a logistical problem. Since getting refueling trucks lined up to go out there was not a common operation.
no shoot.
Nope. You need one of those like the military planes that like come and like refuel planes from the
Yeah.
top, like mid-flight. There was also the tension of knowing there was also the tension of knowing there was a bomb on the plane, and every move needed to be carried out with extreme caution. Communications between the pilot, ground crew, FBI, and Dan Cooper needs to be flawless. This communication was essential but challenging, as any miscommunication between any of them could mean extending the process even longer.
Or, him setting off the freaking bomb.
I feel like that's a little bit more of a problem. Like I feel like delaying the dude 20 minutes. I don't really think that we're really worried
I'd
about
take
that.
the 20-minute delay over, getting my head blown off.
I know, yeah. My question is, they're in a plane. Think about it. Like, most of these people are probably on vacation. Like, imagine, like, you show up to, like, your Aunt Margaret's house, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like, you're a little late. What happened?" You're like, "Dude, wild ride." And, like, it was insane.
It's like the Waffle House memes.
Yeah.
Like, showed up to Waffle House, saw a fist fight.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I was in the airport. You're never gonna believe this.
Yeah.
This guy showed up with a bomb.
Yeah.
And they gave him parachutes.
Yeah.
And, a massive duffel bag full of money.
Yeah. They're thinking, like, "Oh my gosh, like, did everybody, like, fight to take him back?" And they're like, "No,
He just kind of left.
He just kind of left, and then we helped him, and then we just watched him walk away. And then they're like, "All right, class dismissed. Everybody go home." And you're like, "Okay."
Well, it's just like she's carrying the duffel bag of money, and the passengers are grabbing it.
They're grabbing the stuff hanging out of the zippers. Yeah.
Rich people problems.
I know, yeah. And then they asked the airline, they're like, "Can we get a refund for that?" And they're like, "No, we just lost $200,000."
Okay, so and the funny thing is that I've read, and we'll talk about this with the suspects and the opening story, hijacking planes back then was not uncommon, because
they're like the old trains, yeah.
They didn't have a ton of security.
No.
Because really the modern security came after 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
what put it in place was 9/11. You used
Yeah,
to be
so
able to
you
walk
could literally
straight
just
to the
walk
gate,
up
yeah.
without an ID.
And you
Yeah.
could get
And you
right
could-
before the plane without anything.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you could get on the plane, and so
All you needed was a ticket. So if you just bought a
And you
ticket,
didn't need a
you're
ticket to get into the normal lobby.
Yeah, well, yeah, into the gate, yeah, but just
Yeah.
to get on the plane, all you needed was a
Right.
ticket
Yeah.
and a passport, depending on where you were going.
Yeah.
well, and it's crazy. Just I obviously this happened 5 or 6 times. We know.
Yeah.
But they're just chill with it. They're like, oh, another Friday. Let's go fork out the cash to this guy.
I know, yeah.
And then Anyway, totally wild. Can you imagine that happening today? People would flip out. While the ground crews refueled the plane, they also needed to make sure the plane was prepared for the flight in the way that Cooper required it. He insisted that the plane fly nonstop to Mexico City. It's always in Mexico. At the lowest possible speed before the plane stalled. He also wanted to be at a low altitude with the landing gear extended, the wing flaps down, and the cabin unpressurized and the rear stairs lowered. Despite Cooper insisting that it was indeed possible to take off with the exit doors open and the rear stairs lowered, the airline manager protested this. It wasn't safe to take off with the stairs deployed. They compromised by saying they would lower the rear staircase once they were in the air.
Meanwhile, the FBI was working out a strategy that would allow the whole plan to go off safely. They informed Dan that the specific plane they were on, 727-100, didn't have enough range to make it all the way to Mexico City without a refueling stop. Begrudgingly, Cooper agreed to this, and they decided upon the Reno Tahoe International Airport as a refueling stop. In addition to taking note of the serial numbers of the bills they used to pay Dan Cooper, the FBI also scrambled fighter jets to escort the 727. 2 F-106 starfighters and a slower 1033 trainer were sent to tail the plane from above and behind, at a distance so as not to alarm Cooper. Once airborne, Cooper instructed Tina to open the rear staircase, but he hesitated when he realized there was a danger that she would be sucked out of the aircraft.
See, he does care.
Yeah, he's considerate.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong. There was some back and forth, and some ideas were thrown around by the flight crew, including getting an emergency rope in the cockpit and tying her into the plane with it somehow. But Dan didn't want her going back and forth. In the end, he just told her to go to the cockpit and lock the door.
I love how wild that is. She's like, nah, you could get sucked out. Okay, guys, I got an idea. We're going to get a rope, and we're going to tie you into the airplane.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be fine.
Also, I love how the pilot helped him out. Like, he was like, hey, just take off. And then you're like, no, sir, it's not safe with the stairs. And he's like, nah, we'll be fine. And the pilot's like, no. I want you to be safe.
Yeah.
We need to close the doors for your safety. And he's like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Because there's not a bomb on
Yeah.
Right,
He's like, I
right.
could blow the plane up. And he's like, well, yeah, but
We
like,
can't
we don't
take
want
out
you
the
getting
door
sucked
open.
out.
Yeah.
Like, that's a liability on us. Okay? Like, you could sue.
You're gonna, yeah.
He sues them with the $200,000.
He wins.
He gets like 5.
And that's how you become a millionaire.
Yeah. He's like, good. Now, just repeat that 6 times.
Yep. He just told her to go to the cockpit and lock the door, and he would just lower the stairs himself. Due to the design of the Boeing 727, it was impossible to open the door when the plane was in flight and the cabin was pressurized. The design of the door was also perfect for what Cooper wanted to do. As unlike the newer planes, the door of the 727 opened inwards. If it had opened outwards with the traveling speed of the plane, it would have been impossible to open due to the tremendous force of the wind on the aircraft. This showed an impressive amount of mechanical knowledge and preparation Cooper had for the heist. When making his demands, Cooper had asked for the money to be delivered to him in a backpack, but instead they brought in a cloth bank bag. This posed a slight problem for Cooper, as he had no way to carry a cloth bag full of money. Improvising, he ended up using one of the parachute bags to put the bag of cash in.
Don't you hate it when that happens? When your money bag doesn't have handles, so you can't carry around your $250K in 20s.
Dude, yeah, I have that problem all the time.
Right?
It's wild.
Just yesterday, I was at the bank
Oh,
making a
man.
withdrawal. You know, you gotta.
And
you
it's
gotta,
so embarrassing, too.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You're out there trying to like waddle this
Yeah.
massive bag. Like I had to
You
bring
gotta
my
ask
truck
for help.
to.
Oh,
yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. No can
You gotta
do.
get one of those orange flags because it's like the wide
Uh-huh.
logo.
Yeah.
And, like, don't hit me, but like,
Oh,
it's just
they're gonna give me a ticket.
yeah.
So
yeah, it's-
unfortunate. Like, gosh.
Cop pulls you over, and then you're like, "Yes, officer, it's legal."
I know. I'm 5 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
Please. Before she left, Tina asked him if he had the bomb with him. He told her calmly, I'll either take it with me or disarm it. She turned to close the curtains separating first class from the rear cabin. The last thing she saw was Dan Cooper kneeling on the floor, tying the parachute straps around his waist. She then entered the cockpit and locked the door. As everyone was now in the cockpit with the door securely locked behind them, and no windows out of the passenger compartment, the crew had no way to see what Dan Cooper was doing. Around 8 p.m., a warning light in the cockpit came up, signaling he had opened the door. Captain Scott called over the intercom and asked Cooper if he needed help. A single irritated shout came back.
No!
Moments later, they experienced an unusual vibration, which they assumed meant he had lowered the staircase. They also figured he had jumped shortly thereafter, but didn't want to risk leaving the cockpit to check. They stayed in the cockpit until after they had landed in Reno, several hours later. Captain Scott managed to land the plane safely, the only damage being the still lowered rear stairs. After landing, they called out on the intercom in case Cooper was still in the plane, but they heard nothing back. Slowly, they opened the door to find him gone.
This is just like, I know we keep saying this, but it's such a cheap movie.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's-
how many.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what did he do? Read like some, I don't know what, like.
Oh wait, wasn't there a book? There wasn't there?
Was it before?
There was like a comic book that came out about a guy named D.B. Cooper in the 70s.
Hang on, wait, what?
Wait,
And
actually
that's
great.
what he was inspired on. I remember this now.
That's crazy. He got it all
Yeah.
from like a comic book.
Yeah, it was a comic book.
That'd be neat.
Yeah. I should try that.
Okay, hang on.
It's like when you type into ChatGPT and you're like, "Tell me how to rob a bank," and it's like, "That's against policy," and you're like, for a book I'm writing. Tell me how to rob a bank.
Bro.
And it's like, oh, I got you, bro.
Bro, November 1954 was when
Yeah,
it was produced.
see, that's what I
Dan
thought.
Cooper, Mysteries and Secrets. Okay, 1954.
Oh, dude, wait, that's
Yeah.
actually crazy. So,
Yeah,
he
I-
literally just copied a comic book.
Yes, he did.
Aviation themed, yeah.
I'm sure the author was like, shoot,
Yeah.
Okay, hang on.
someone's
Although
coming after
fairly
me now.
obscure, it was French.
Mm.
Yeah, it came to speculation concerning the identity of the 1971 hijack. Oh yeah, I forget because they said he may have been French-Canadian origin for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
crazy.
Cooper research team led by Tom Kay, working in cooperation with the Seattle-based FBI agent Larry Carr, speculated that the hijacker may have chosen an alias based on the fictional character. Shocker.
Dang, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Though.
Like the FBI too. Kay and his colleagues suggest the hijacker may have become a fan of comics while on a tour of duty in Europe, which is the military thing, because they're like,
Oh, the French Foreign Legion?
well, the French Foreign Legion, but also his knowledge about parachutes and stuff, like mechanical plane knowledge. Or that he may have been a French-Canadian origin. That's the one I've heard more. Some of the comics seemingly match aspects of the D.B. Cooper case, including jumping out of the plane with a parachute, as well as the ransom being delivered in a knapsack or a backpack. Like, how did I not see this when I was writing the episode? Dang, that's actually wild.
What ensued was one of the largest manhunts in FBI history. The investigation, codenamed Norjack for Northeast Hijack, is the longest ever investigation in FBI history. Spanning over 800 suspects, it was officially closed due to lack of evidence in 2016, almost 50 years after the original crime. The only things Dan Cooper had left on the plane were his black clip-on tie, 2 of the 4 parachutes, a cigarette butt in the ashtray, and 66 partial fingerprints scattered across the plane. But none of this led them anywhere. There were several things that hampered the investigation from the start. To begin with, nobody saw when or where Cooper actually jumped out of the plane, despite having 3 Air Force escorts.
You had one job, and you failed.
Also, Dan Cooper is most likely a fake name. The now famous moniker D.B. Cooper was born entirely by accident. The police and even other journalists tried to correct the mistake, but it was too late. D.B. Cooper had been cemented into history. In the end, it doesn't really matter, as the name Dan Cooper was most likely a fake name or alias anyway. Early reports mentioned a Portland man named D.B. Cooper who was briefly questioned but quickly declared. A local journalist, James Long of the Oregon Journal, mistakenly used that name in a wire story. Local police as well as the FBI worked to correct the error, but it was too late. D.B. Cooper had cemented himself into history. It was almost impossible to know where D.B. Cooper had landed, since no one saw him jump from the plane, and no one knew for sure when he had exited the compartment of the plane. On the way to Reno, Tahoe, the pilot flew along the airpath named Victor 23. This led investigators to believe that he jumped at somewhere about 25 miles north of Portland, over the forests of Washington state. Even with this knowledge, narrowing down where he had actually landed was still incredibly difficult. The terrain, being mountainous and forested, was hard to pass, and stormy conditions due to the time of year made search efforts hard to conduct. The FBI, the police, military, and public search personnel searched day and night for years, covering miles of the wilderness, rivers, and mountainside, but they came up with nothing. Not a single bit of evidence, aside from what he had left in the plane, was ever recovered initially, mostly because the search area was so large and the place where he could have landed was unknown.
As we mentioned before, the officials at the bank that they took the money from, in this case was Seattle First National Bank, they took note of the serial numbers on the bills given to Cooper, and encouraged people to check to see their bills to see if the numbers match. So this is like a public thing, they put the numbers out. Like we also said, you can still go out and look and see if your bills are the Cooper bills. Watch as they are.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
You have like 6 of them, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's bad, that's bad.
You have a case of 20s and you're safe, like, you know, the end of the world safe, and you're like, oh shoot,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
all Cooper bills.
Okay, you know what's crazy too? This is in the 70s, meaning that D.B. Cooper, like the guy that like would later be known as D.B. Cooper, probably his grandkids. So if you're listening to this and your grandfather is D.B. Cooper, we want to interview you
Yeah.
and talk about him more.
Yeah.
So
We'll get
give
to that
Give
when
us
we get to the
a
suspects.
call, because
Now, we venture from the solid ground of fact into the murky waters of speculation. Several months after the hijacking, a series of letters came into the newspapers and investigation organizations. They contained taunting messages and other references to the hijacking. The first letter arrived to the Seattle Times and was signed D.B. Cooper and claimed responsibility for the hijacking and insisted that he had left no fingerprints behind and that the authorities were wasting their time looking for him. Several more letters arrived over the course of the next year, and while they didn't contain any information on what had actually happened to Cooper, they did seem to include various ciphers and codes. Some of these letters were just cut. The letters in the letters were just cut out from newspapers to form words. The FBI never confirmed these as legitimate, and in fact, we have reason to believe they aren't because the sender uses D.B. Cooper, which was like Dan Cooper never referred to himself as D.B. Cooper. It was the press who gave him the name D.B. Cooper. Fast forward to 1980, 9 years after the heist, still nothing conclusive came up, and no money was ever found. 8-year-old Brian Ingram was out with his dad on a camping trip by the Columbia River at a place called Tina Bar, which is kind of ironic because, the flight attendant's name is Tina. Anyway, he was playing in the water when he came across something strange. He felt something in the sand, and as any kid does, he decided to unbury it. Lucky for him, this was no normal rock or small things you might find on the beach. This was $5,800, all in $20 bills, wrapped in 3 bundles.
Nice.
I know, right? Fine. The bills are not in good shape, as they had been presumably underwater for quite some time now. When they reported these to authorities, to the shock of the investigators, the serial numbers on the bills matched that of the money they paid out to Cooper. The FBI...
He told the authorities? Dude could have had free college.
They let him keep it.
Oh, okay.
The FBI kept 13 of these bills for evidence and let Brian keep the rest, and he later sold them for $37,000.
Oh, gosh, that's awesome.
I know, right?
What a genius kid.
It's like, nah, I'm gonna keep them, sell them on eBay. Gets $37,000 from him. That was the first and only evidence found from the case, and it's the only money they ever found. The problem, however, that this discovery posed was that the money was 15 miles from the supposed drop zone.
There's only one reasonable thing that you can do with the money that you get from those bills. So you get the bills, you keep them for a couple years, you sell them. He makes $37,000 or $3,700?
$37,000.
That's like a 500% increase.
You buy a really nice car and you make the custom license plate DB Cooper.
Honestly,
and it would go so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, so they found the money 15 miles from where they thought he jumped out. And the way the river was flowing, the money couldn't have just washed up there because the river would have made it go the other way.
Okay, but I feel like 15 miles in a plane isn't really that far.
No, but if you think about it, it's on the side of a mountain too. So
Right. But if you're unloading stuff and you drop one bag and then you jump a second or two later, you're gonna be miles apart.
I think it was sideways.
Oh, weird. So it wasn't just in the path of the plane.
I think so. I think it was. Yeah, I remember being oh yeah, it wouldn't have been it just fell out.
Okay,
that's what I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So that meant the original drop zone was wrong, and it also meant that Cooper landed near another river in the area which could have flown the correct direction, tributary to the Columbia River, and caused it to get where it was found. It seems a little bit far-fetched, though, like you said, is it could have been just 3 bundles fell out and floated naturally down, but that's also, yeah. And he fell out in a different area. Adding to the mystery of the discovery, the rubber bands were completely intact. This is usually impossible, experts say, given that rubber bands have been proven to be unable to withstand elements for even just a year. I mean, rubber bands break like crazy. So that's really all of the actual story we have. We'll get into the suspects and conclusions here shortly, but totally wild. It's just really impressive to me that they never found anything.
Yeah.
Obviously, with our cold open story about Richard McCoy, he did the same thing, but they found him.
Yeah.
With the D.B. Cooper, they never... they interviewed suspects, we'll see, and people have, confessed and whatnot, but...
It's crazy. I feel like it would be really interesting to... Because it closes in 2016, which isn't actually that long ago. It's 2025 now.
Almost 9 years, if you think about it.
Yeah.
But we don't want to say that because we're not... We don't want to think about that.
Yeah. No, but, it would be interesting to open it again now, open the case, see what we can do. The chance of the FBI actually doing that are pretty low, just because $200,000 now is not that much. It would take more money to hire the guys to go and like research it and like try to find it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
do all the work.
they've literally spent millions on the case, and
That
Let me-
too. You would end up losing money anyway.
Yeah.
But it would be
So much
crazy to see if we could find the guy now.
hang on, let me look up how much 200K was worth in 1970 adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
And we do have better forensics now, but they also there's a lot of evidence that has been lost time at that. Since
That is
point.
true, but we also have
Oops.
better like tracking as
Right.
well. Like we can track people, which will
So it probably equals out though.
yeah.
Okay, that's worth 1.7 million today.
That's still not that much though. Like, it's a lot, but think about
I think they're
how much
more concerned
money.
about like the part where he stole the plane.
I think that's a little more concerning. Yeah, like the money itself, like just in cash,
Yeah,
it's a good amount, but like
yeah,
it's not a huge heist anymore.
yeah. I mean, it's not like we see. What was that guy's
the
name? We should do an
plane-
episode on him. Well, there's the Wolf of Wall Street. There's another guy who laundered. Basically, I forget what he did, but he was he wasn't the world's richest man, but he had the most in like liquid cash. He had like over $1 billion in liquid cash, which like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they have
have
$1
it
billion,
in,
but
like,
they have it in
assets.
stock.
Yeah.
He had it in liquid cash. I forget what he did. I forget what he was, but like that's like a big heist. All right, let's get into our suspects here. Ben, you want to read our first suspect?
Yeah, so the first suspect that they interviewed, and I believe it came out as like it can't be him, was the guy that we talked about earlier. He was the guy that we talked about for like that first like cold open story. But just as a warm up, on April 7th, 1972, a man traveled under a fake name, boarded a Newark Los Angeles flight shortly after takeoff. He handed a note to one of the flight attendants. The note demanded $500,000 and 4 parachutes. And so obviously as he keeps going, he hijacks the plane.
Yeah, this is the cold open story.
Yeah, and his name was Richard McCoy. So if you missed that story, go back and listen to it. But that was Richard McCoy Jr., not to be confused with Robert Downey Jr. He was not one of the suspects. But he was the first suspect
that actually had any weight to him.
Exactly, yeah. That had any weight just because of his past of doing similar things. They figured, hey, there's so many similar things, maybe he tried it again. Which props to the guy for doing it twice. But it wasn't him, so yeah.
Yeah, because that happened 5 months after.
Yeah.
D.B. Cooper, and then he got a 45-year prison sentence. Okay, and then look at how they got out of prison, though.
Wait, where?
The next paragraph?
Oh, I scrolled. This hijacking occurred less than 5 months after the D.B. Cooper incident, leading to many suspects. On August 10th, 1974, however, he and some fellow inmates hijacked a garbage truck and escaped their Pennsylvania penitentiary. That's awesome, dude. Hijacking a garbage truck, like,
Yeah, right?
those dudes are not getting paid. I know for a fact that they would probably just give you the truck. They're not paying enough.
Right.
Like, you walk up and be like, yo, give me the truck. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And you're not stealing anything valuable. It's garbage.
Yeah, right.
When the FBI finally tracked McCoy down in Virginia 3 months later, a shootout left him dead.
I love how it took him 3 months to find him.
I know, yeah.
Like they rode out in a freaking
Garbage truck, and they're like, where'd he go? My question is, did they get him in the front seat, like in like the cab, or did one of the guys have to sit in the back, like in the garbage?
Well, how
They
it
did,
doesn't
like,
say
the-
how
the-
many of them there were.
That's
'cause, I mean,
true.
a garbage truck
They
probably
just-
has what 3 seats.
They just trash compacted them towards the back.
They put like their mattresses in
Yeah.
there. hosed it out.
Wonk.
And they've got like a motorhome in the back of this.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You undo it, and it's like those, you know, the rubber chickens you like squeeze in your leg. It's like, you let it go, and all the mattresses are like, push them all back to the front. McCoy's children, Shantae and Richard III, great names by the way, had long believed their father might have been behind the 1971 hijacking. They finally opened up about their suspicions to Dan Gritter in 2023. After being repeatedly contacted by an amateur investigator. According to Gritter, they presented the FBI with a parachute and harness that had been stashed in a storage shed on their family's North Carolina property. which right there, that's pretty suspicious. Just the fact that like you just have a parachute and a harness just on your property, that's like,
Why?
yeah, interesting. And like nobody ever talked about it. Nobody was like, "Hey, Dad,
What about that?
what's
He
what's
wasn't-
this?"
He died in like,
Oh, that's true. I guess
1974,
I guess he
remember?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So they couldn't ask him.
Yeah. That rig is literally 1 in a billion. Gritter told Cowboy State Daily after posting a series on YouTube about his investigations.
I don't like. What does that mean? 1 in a billion. Does that mean like it's 1 in a billion, like it's super popular, or does that mean it's like 1 in a billion, like
It might.
that's super rare?
No, super rare because it's 1 in a billion chance.
Oh, okay.
Was
because
it
it's
because
super
the
popular,
parachute
it'd be a
is a
billion.
1970 variety?
Okay. Good point. Never mind. Anyway.
Travis escaped their Pennsylvania penitentiary. Oh wait, hang on.
Rig is literally
Yeah.
1 in a billion.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep going back to that part. That rig is literally 1 in a billion. Gritter told Cowboy State Daily after posting a series on YouTube about his investigations. Also stored with the parachute was a logbook that McCoy's daughter claims places their father at the site of the hijacking at about the same time. Shantae and Rick have said they waited until their mother passed away before sharing the items with investigators. It never occurred to them to ask, be like, "Hey, Ma, you know about that?"
Where was Dad on the
Yeah,
evening?
where was Dad? She was like, "I don't know, hon. He went hunting, never came back. I don't know what happened. Came back with a whole bunch of money and a new car. It's all I know."
Oh, and that parachute. In the
And
storage unit.
the parachute was in the back seat. I remember unloading it from the trunk and being like, it's awfully strange.
You silly rascal, where'd you get the
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, it's a yard sale."
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't. What do you guys think of this guy? Is
I
he
don't
DB
know.
Cooper?
I don't.
I find it hard to believe the FBI would miss that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are definitely things before that have been missed, but it's a very clear. Like, he's the obvious answer, right? Of like,
Yeah.
something happens,
He
you
did the
wait.
exact same
Yeah,
thing.
you wait several months, and then the same thing happens, and then they're like, "Oh, like maybe it could be this guy." So 100% great suspect.
Yeah.
But I have like it would be hard to hide it once, hiding it twice and doing it better the second time.
Well, no, it was the first time. Cooper was
Yeah.
before McCoy.
Oh, right, that's right.
Yeah, because
Okay,
it was
I
5
guess.
months later. So
He
I
did
don't
the
know.
first time, got away with it, got cocky, and did it again. Is the idea?
It could be that. It
I
could also be
guess.
like him just jumping on the bandwagon of like,
Yeah,
oh, this
that's
worked,
also true.
Might as well try it.
That
I
happens
feel
all the
like he's more likely a copycat more than
Yes.
he is the
Yeah.
actual guy.
Because this new information is so sensational.
Mm-hmm.
It's you
Well,
can
like, what's he gonna do with? Because what did we say? 200,000 was like 1.7 million.
Yeah.
So this is like $5 million.
Yeah,
that
pretty
he's got
much.
here.
Yeah.
And like, what's he gonna do with that on top of the 1.7 he just got? Like, I mean, unless he's, things weren't that expensive back in the 1970s. So while that
No.
doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of crazy, like almost. I mean, I guess if you think about it as like, oh, like he just got greedy and wanted more, then it could be like, okay, that's rare. But it would be really stupid for him to do it again after he succeeded so well the first time.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So yeah.
A more under-the-radar suspect through the years has been Sheridan Peterson, who fell under suspicion within a week of the skyjacking but wasn't interviewed by the FBI until decades later. Big F on the FBI's part. Like,
Yeah.
how do you not interview the guy? Peterson, a former Boeing employee, worked in the department that wrote the flight manual for the Boeing 727 jet that was hijacked. A familiar that might explain how the perpetrator knew the aircraft had back stairs he could open and jump from. Or, like, he just watched people get on the plane.
Yeah.
Like, they're...
You know,
Or
it'd be
like
cool.
see it in movies. Like you could. It's not super uncommon to see like
Yeah.
like the stairs.
And
I don't know.
probably-
Actually, wait. Do airlines even have like the stairs anymore? Because like now we like you board with like that big yellow tunnel. With,
Well,
like, the,
not anymore, but they did back then. Like,
well, they did,
yeah.
yeah. But like now, like
Well,
could
now
you-
the
could you-
airplanes don't even have stairs in them.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do they have sticks? Because I know they have like that
The
slide that everybody wants to ride down. Also on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can buy them used, actually.
Yeah, but I want to do it like
From an airplane.
Like from an airplane.
Yeah,
like
that's
I don't
fair.
like the slide itself isn't that cool. It's just doing it from an airplane into the water, as the airplane sinks behind you. That would be.
Get really lit. An accomplished skydiver, Peterson also worked for a time as a smoke jumper in Montana. He also worked at Issaquah Skydive Center in the 1960s, the same place that would later provide the parachutes used by Cooper in his escape. Unlike the descriptions of Cooper, however, Peterson has blue eyes, not brown. And while Cooper had chain smoked on the flight, Peterson is not known to have been a smoker. It's like the worst piece of evidence anywhere. Like, bro smoked 5 cigarettes. Well, he could have just done that for the reaction. Like, or what?
I don't know. Maybe they knew from his voice. Maybe aboard the plane, he's like, "Hey, everybody, I'm gonna take over the plane." And then like this dude, there was like, "Hey guys, I'm going to rob plane." They're like, "Nope, different guy." Okay.
I got you.
Yeah.
At the time of the hijacking, Peterson told authorities he was living with his wife and family in Nepal, although he had no definitive proof that he hadn't traveled back during the time of the hijacking. What was I going to say? Oh, I don't remember if we mentioned it. I just thought of this. But the letters that they sent that D.B. Cooper, quote unquote, said to the press, one of them,
the cutout ones.
Yeah, one of them was like, "I used face putty and I wore a toupee. You'll never find me," or something. Anyway,
I feel like that would not go unnoticed though. Like the face putty and a toupee. Like the toupee could, but like. I mean, it's kind of obvious when somebody has face.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Especially with the stewardesses sat right next to him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you would notice it. Like
you should. Yeah, I don't know.
You should in person on like a screen with makeup.
But then why would he say like, "I wear face putty"?
I feel like he would just let it go too.
Or it could also be like we said, it could be unlegit. Gary, you want to read Robert Rackstraw?
Okay.
And I know, hang on, before you read that, I know with other cases, for like serial killers and like different crimes, there are other instances where people like come out and like pretend to be that person.
Oh yeah.
Totally. Get in on it and like pretend to be like, oh, like, you know, I know this and I know this, and like writing letters and stuff that aren't actually
everyone just wants clout.
Yeah, exactly. They just want to have a part in it.
Mm-hmm. Back in the 1970s, pilot and former paratrooper Robert Rackstraw had a whole lot going on. Grand theft, $75,000 worth of bad checks, and the possible murder of his stepfather were just a few of the infractions for which the authorities had nabbed him. After being acquitted of the murder charge, Rackstraw saw fit to fake his own death in 1978 by logging a false Mayday call from a rented plane in Northern California. He spent 2 years in prison for check fraud and theft on an aircraft. In the 2016 book, The Last Master Outlaw, authors James J. Colbert and Tom Sizalzi presented evidence gathered during the 5-year investigation into Rackstraw's past. They concluded he was a legendary hijacker, a claim Rackstraw's lawyer called the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Rackstraw died from a heart condition on July 9th, 2019.
I don't know. That guy seems like he would know what he was doing.
Yeah.
That man, he's...
Also, stupidest. Seems pretty nervous there. Could be.
Oh, I can sense. He's just trying to cover.
Yeah, exactly. He's.
They don't teach you.
Defensive.
They don't teach you things in lawyer school about that.
No,
right?
They don't teach you that.
Kenneth Christensen had a more direct link to the Cooper incident. He'd actually worked for Northwest, which is the airline that got hijacked, as a mechanic, flight attendant, and purser. I don't know what that is. Kenneth's brother Lyle claims that Kenneth was on his deathbed in 1994, and he said, "There's something you should know, but I cannot tell you." Kenneth had been a military paratrooper, and the year after the D.B. Cooper hijacking, despite being on a modest flight attendant salary, he bought a house in cash. I don't know.
Seems a little bit suspicious.
But that's the thing. There's like all these guys that do stuff that's like kind of half suspicious.
Yeah.
Like.
It's really easy to see the
but
connection.
There's like
afterward.
5 of them.
Yeah.
So it's like how there wasn't 5 DB Coopers. Anyway.
And also, it's very like textbook. It's it's a very textbook crime. So being like, oh, like this one thing like is obviously linked is really hard because of how just like generic
Yeah,
we don't know
where it's
anything.
Like, he stole a bunch of money. Nobody knows what he did with it. So someone's like, "Oh, I bought like a really nice house that around the same time." You're like, "Could it be him?" You're like, "All right,
yeah,
maybe that dude's just been saving. He just bought it at the wrong time." Or like, this dude also stole a plane. Could he be a copycat? Could he be the same guy? Maybe it's totally unrelated.
Yeah. So those are all the big suspects. There's a couple other theories that I forgot to write down. One of them is time traveler, and that explains why we never found him. I
feel like that's the least plausible, but the most fun.
It's definitely the coolest.
Yeah, I like that idea the most, but also no.
As we'll hear in the next one of the next episodes about time travel, we'll pick that up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the time traveler story. Nobody ever found a parachute, body, or money. This is so random. Some say he used future tech because the tie clip had titanium particles, which were uncommon in 1971.
Ooh.
And the $20 bills they found were just a glitch. And it says he was a future historian testing how law enforcement worked in the 20th century.
I love that. Yeah, that's my favorite theory yet. He was just like, "Guys, do you guys want to learn more about the past?" He was like the Magic School Bus. He was like Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus.
Uh-huh.
But he was just like, "Today, kids, we're gonna pull out a $200,000 heist. Hop on board, kids."
We're gonna study how they react.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the
parachute was the bus.
Yeah.
So there's the alien or hybrid theory that he was an existential extraterrestrial. He was an extraterrestrial or human alien hybrid because he was unusually calm. He knew aviation and vanished. He might have been picked up in midair by a craft who used alien tech to disintegrate or teleport.
Ooh.
And some people say UFO sightings over the Pacific Northwest during that time, red lights and radar anomalies near the flight path.
Are you sure it just wasn't the plane?
Right.
It's like there's red lights in the sky near the plane. You're like, is it the plane? They're like, yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
I forgot the plane's got the lights.
Okay, this is one of the weirdest ones. A government agent or CIA assist. Because Cooper may have been testing new gear or covert extraction methods during the Cold War, possibly for the CIA or defense contractor.
Why is it always the Cold War, though?
It was in the middle of the Cold War.
It was, but why is everything around the Cold War?
Well, because there's a lot of interesting things about the Cold War.
There is a lot of interesting
So the money
things
could have been
about the Cold
staged, and the heist could have been a cover story.
Cold.
The bizarre lack of the pursuit coordination with the other planes, how they just didn't see him.
Yeah.
Jump. That's a little weird. And more missing evidence that the FBI was told to stand down after a certain point. I don't know what that means.
But with not seeing him jump, you have to remember you're going hundreds of miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're only going 200 miles an hour, but still, that's pretty dang fast.
Yeah.
If and it's night, and I think it was raining too.
Mm.
Oh yeah, if it's night and it's raining too, then
because
that's
it took
easy.
off at 7:40 p.m. or something.
Because all you'd have to do is jump, close to the plane. You wouldn't jump out; you just jump down.
Right.
And you wouldn't, it wouldn't look like anything.
Yeah.
You just kind of blend in,
fall out.
especially if you're wearing any kind of dark clothing, and then you just don't pull the parachute until.
But that's the thing I don't get is because you're not very high up, so you'd have to pull the parachute right away.
Yeah, but if it's raining, once the planes are above you, they can't see down.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's fine. It's not like ours now. They could just pinpoint there's someone.
Yeah, that's right.
But and they're not looking down. They're looking at the plane. They're
right.
not where is he?
There's a dimensional jumper theory where he slipped into another dimension, which is the total absence of trace, no bones, shoot or reliable sighting.
There was a little green pipe below him. And he jumped into the green pipe.
And then it went
Yeah.
Yeah, which is because they never found anything and they would assume they would find something if he died in the woods.
Yeah.
You would see a parachute snagged in a tree or something.
Maybe something.
They never did from helicopters.
I got it. Sasquatch ate him.
Oh.
And the parachute.
And the parachute. Parachute was a chaser.
Get this. The turbulence during the jump was a portal event similar to the alleged cases like the Philadelphia
Are
experiment.
you sure it wasn't just because they were going crazy slow at
With the stairs down.
With the stairs down,
yeah.
with like really low altitude? Like,
I don't know.
I feel like maybe.
Yeah, we'll talk about
maybe,
Philadelphia.
if
more
you're
with the
driving
time
at 80
travel,
miles
but
an hour with
The
the
Bermuda
doors open,
Triangle.
and you're like, that's really bumpy. You're like, maybe try closing the doors. I don't know.
The Bermuda Triangle took a vacation to the Pacific Northwest
Oh,
and
what?
sucked him up.
Dang. Okay, a few believers tie this to skinwalker or interdimensional being folklore in the Northwest, suggesting that Cooper wasn't just a man, he was a traveler between realities. I don't know about that. There's the mythic trickster theory. Some see him like Loki, Hermes, or Coyote. The trickster always bending the rules, stealing from the powerful, and disappears laughing. Okay,
Why
so
would
funny, in the
why
Loki
would
show...
a god need to steal from the U.S. government, though? Like, I feel like
funny.
maybe...
It's fun. Is that what he does on weekends?
Ooh, that's
Like,
valid.
so in the Loki TV show, they actually show a clip of him as D.B. Cooper.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway, so maybe it was Loki. They note how Cooper's story feels mythically perfect. Nameless Man, Skyscape, Vanishing Act, and...
It's actually Stan Lee.
yeah.
And he wrote the comic under a fake name to warn the government, waited,
Mm-hmm.
and then did that, and then disappeared back to Stan Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And then nobody ever suspected him because he was
Yeah.
like, I got all this money from comic book writing.
Yeah, so they literally say Cooper might not have been a person at all. He was just an architect that slipped into real life for a night weekend thing. There's the simulation glitch. Like, he might have been a code anomaly, like an NPC who broke the rules of the system. This gets into, like, Matrix stuff, which we might talk about later, like, are we in the Matrix?
Stupid Sims.
Right,
Oh,
and they
good
talk
lord.
about, like, how clean his exit was, like, the code just erased him, you know? And the money found later was just the Cooper bug.
Maybe, and that's why he couldn't harm anybody, like,
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah, because
like,
he couldn't actually...
Yeah, he couldn't harm anybody because they were like, "Hey, like, can we leave?" And he's like, "Yeah, whatever you want," because he knew that even
He couldn't actually do
like
anything.
he can't actually
Yeah.
alter
Right.
any kind of history.
Yeah.
He can take stuff and like move stuff, but he can't actually like end
Yeah.
stuff or make stuff.
Then there's the
It's kinda
final one is the
interesting.
he never existed theory, which suggests the entire story was an elaborate cover for something else. Military test, covert operation, or even a psychological experiment. The hijacking could have been fabricated to explain radar anomalies, secret flights, or intelligence testing. Cooper might be as real as Roswell's alien autopsy, a myth to distract or misdirect.
That's actually an interesting story.
Which-
if you guys aren't familiar with that,
We
It
got to do an
was-
episode on that
we
sometime.
need
like a
to do an
storage closet
episode.
or something.
but wait, read this. It was Roswell's alien.
Could be as real
Yeah.
as the Roswell thing, like a myth to distract or
Yeah.
misdirect.
So what that was is what was the guy's name? Roswell. Like what was the title? Roswell alien
Autopsy.
Yeah. So on Uncut, the Roswell alien autopsy was this guy came forward with this evidence. If
Yeah,
you guys
the
haven't heard of
skeleton.
it, yeah, it's like the skeleton of this like alien. I think they had more than the skeleton too, because like it was the video. They like cut open the alien and you can like see it and it's like doing all this stuff. And it was this like big huge hoax of like, oh my gosh, like we found like alien life and stuff. And it wasn't until years later that one of the guys that was paid to film it came out and was like, that was all fake. We just made it. Like it's like a costume and like there's this and then
Yeah.
it's like movie effects basically. But for years it was touted as like, oh my gosh, like this is evidence. So it genuinely could be something like that where I find it not super plausible. Just because why would they lie about that? Like why that?
And you have to have, was it 6 people who never come forward with,
That's
with
true.
the truth?
Yeah, you'd
Yeah.
have to have 6 people unless all of the other people are fake too. In which case, then
Yeah.
it's like, all right, well, if the whole thing is fake, there's evidence that is real. So like, how did
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even finding like the money in the woods, like they'd have to hire a guy to go and like just leave money
Plant
in the
the
woods.
money.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a actually funny thing. Like the brand new rubber bands.
Yeah.
Like he used old bills that
Oh.
matched, just put new rubber bands on them, and buried them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they could have been like put there anyway. Interesting. Yeah.
It is interesting. So it could be
Yeah.
not
But
crazy
that's-
plausible.
That's also the
but
government doing something efficiently.
That's facts. The
Different
government. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
So what do you guys think? What's your takeaway from Cooper?
I think that the government could have done it efficiently based on the fact that we took out the entirety of Iran in like 10 minutes. But it's kind of unlikely that nobody came forward to be like, hey guys, that never actually happened. Since I mean, think about the conspiracies around everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Holocaust wasn't real, 9/11 wasn't real. Like,
JFK.
why? Yeah, JFK was actually killed by the... But there's...
But he
like,
was, though.
But there's, like, nobody's, like, touting this. Like, it's...
Yeah.
They're theories, but they're not very widespread. Which I think is interesting, showing that, like, there has to be some sort of... Also, 36 passengers on board. The 30... Any one of the 36 passengers could have been like, oh...
Well, yeah, actually, interestingly,
That never
though,
actually happened.
that was, like, not even close to the capacity of the plane. Because the plane could hold, like, 120 people or something. So the plane was, like, empty.
And it was holidays.
And it was holidays.
It could, but depending on... Like, it was designed to hold 120 people, but that doesn't mean that they actually sold 120
it had it
people
set up. Yeah.
for that
Fair
plane.
enough.
Like, it could have just been just an empty flight.
Yeah.
Where not a lot of people are traveling.
That's
to
what I'm
that
guessing, is it
specific
had
place.
to have been,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is totally possible. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gur, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that it was likely some guy who was really good at what he did.
Yeah.
And
That's probably what I lean. I mean,
and a lot of coincidences too, that he just got really lucky.
yeah.
And
Did
it
he
all just-
survive the jump? That
That is a good question.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to believe he survived the jump.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I think so. I mean. I think they would have found stuff if he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good one, especially like the parachute over like
Yeah.
trees. Like the parachute would have got caught in a tree or
Right.
Would've
something
gotten
if
caught in
he
a tree.
didn't survive.
Yeah.
But if he was alive, but then the other thing is like, what would he do with the money? Because they never found the bills, so he never used the bills
Yeah, and they're still hidden somewhere.
unless he found a way to launder them or
Yeah.
something.
Unless, well, I don't know. I feel like in the 70s there could be ways
Yeah, that's
to
fair.
hide. You just wouldn't spend it all at once, basically. Because they're all 20s. Like, they're easy to spend.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy gas. You could, like, just do average stuff. And,
Nobody
I mean,
would have really.
yeah, no
Well,
gas station is
yeah.
going to be like, is this a DB Cooper bill? Like, could this be one? Like, not to every bill they get. And the bills were from that time period. Like, they're not specifically old bills.
Well, and I mean, there's like millions of $20 bills. So it
Yeah,
would've been
especially
easy
if
for
you
those
spent
to
them in
just-
different places.
Yeah, slip away.
Yeah. And with the money, you could take trips and stuff.
Mhm.
So.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap up for this episode. This is from the History Channel's website on D.B. Cooper. Though it was initially believed that Cooper was a battle-scarred skydiver, perhaps a paratrooper, further analysis found that he was likely no expert. No experienced parachutist would have jumped into the pitch-black night in the rain with a 200-mile-an-hour wind in his face, wearing loafers and a trench coat, said FBI Special Agent Larry Carr in 2007. Investigators also thought that Cooper acted alone. If he had worked with an accomplice, he would have requested a much more specific flight path rather than, say, fly to Mexico and jumping out when visibility was poor. In 1980, a child's discovery reignited the interest in the mystery. When Brian Ingram found the $20 bills totaling $5,800 and the parents contacted the police, the serial numbers matched, we know that. Aside from the few items left behind on the plane, this is the only material evidence ever found from the hijacking. They let him keep the $2,760 of it, and in 2008 he sold 15 of the bills. He only sold 15 of them for $37,000?
I did not see that part.
In 2008, he sold 15 of the fragmented $20 bills at auction for $37,433.38.
Maybe he hung. I mean, I don't know. I would keep a few. I would keep a few.
Yeah, but he found 15? How much? That's not that much.
No.
$20 bills?
Found.
That's $300.
Yeah.
So he sold $300 for $37,000.
So he has
Yeah.
2,400 and so he has $2,460.
How do we know his grandpa wasn't D.B. Cooper? It was like this generational scheme to get rich.
Dude, that would be crazy.
You're gonna find the
No.
bills, sell them for millions
Here-
more than you got.
That's
for.
wild, dude. Imagine you go to college and you're like, oh my gosh, how'd you get your college money? And you're like, it was 2 generations. And then it was my grandfather, and he sold 200,000, spent most of it, kept a little bit, let me find them, told me where they was, say, wait 20 years, find them. I found them, sold them for more, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with my kids. So I'm just going to give, a little bit.
Talk
for
about
them,
like a
and then they'd be
high-risk thing, though.
That's
Yeah.
crazy though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a generational heist going on.
In the wake of the hijacking, the Federal Aviation Administration ordered that Cooper vanes, named after the elusive DB, must be installed on all Boeing 727 aircraft. A Cooper vane is a small latch fitted to the outside of all planes with rear stairs. The last prevents anyone from opening the door mid-flight, just as DB Cooper did as he leaped into the air and vanished into obscurity.
Interesting.